If you've been on Booktok or Author Talk lately, you might have heard about the drama surrounding Audra Winters. She's a young author who managed to have a really successful pre-sale of her fantasy novel. It's a book she's been writing for over 10 years, and I believe this is the only thing she's ever written, is this one thing over the course of 10 years. And just keep that in mind as we move forward in this video. Now, Audra Winter, she has been promoting this book for a really long time on social media, since at least 2021. That's when I originally followed her because I was so struck by her commitment to this, right? So she's been writing this story since she was very young. It's been a long time, and she's been stuck, to this idea, and she's been living in this fantasy world in her head and just writing these stories. But then I started to get red flags as I watched her videos. Now, a little bit of background on myself. I've written 4 novels and I've written a bunch of short stories, and I have been trying to get traditionally published. For one of my books, I actually went into the query trenches and I attempted to query literary agents to get my book published. And I even queried agents face-to-face at conferences. And that is something I'm really good at, I like to say, is marketing my book. But in that type of situation, it's all about the marketability of the book. And I kept getting feedback about how my writing is really good, but this won't sell in the current market. Now, Audra Winters is dealing with the opposite of that situation, where the book is really marketable. Today, people really love a good fantasy book, especially when the lead of that book is either lesbian or queer in some kind of way. I love that. I personally eat that up. That genre, that part of fantasy is really booming right now. And for that, she had a really good time marketing this book, and people really were interested in the premise of it as well. And also its similarities to like The Hunger Games and Divergent and all of that. We're not going to get into what the book is actually about. I have not read the book, but however, I have read about 5 pages from the book, spread out throughout different areas, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Taking a step back and talking about how she marketed the book, she made hundreds and hundreds of short form content videos on TikTok advertising her book and talking about how confident she was as a writer and how excited she was that she was selling all of these pre-sale books sight unseen. And there were a lot of red flags for me in this, particularly the fact that she hadn't written anything else. This was the one thing that she's been living inside of forever. Now, given the fact that I am not a genius author, I am very new as an author, so I just talked about how I queried a sci-fi book and it didn't go well. So what I did was I took a step back away from that book and I started writing short stories exclusively, kind of submitting those, across the industry for different submissions, like literary magazines, things like that, anthologies. And I also joined a writers group where it's one of the oldest writers groups in Pittsburgh, and they give fantastic advice and criticism. They're not going to shy away from telling you when something isn't working. These are people that have been writing for years and selling their short fiction in a multitude of different avenues, whether it's, traditionally published, it's published online, these people know what they're doing, and they're not going to shy away from giving you good feedback. With all of that said, that's scary, right? As an author, getting that feedback, because this is something that you hold precious, I guess, to you. You need to step away from that preciousness that you have with your writing. They say kill your darlings. Well, in this case, kill your entire story. If it's not working, kill it. And that's what's really hard as an author, if you're really stuck to your writing. Now, the red flag that I got early on from Audra Winter was the fact that she was talking about this story like it was her baby. Now, sometimes you'll hear authors talk about their stories like their children, like, oh, I love this, child I've created, and it's amazing and it's perfect and it's everything that I ever wanted it to be. But that's going to cloud your judgment ultimately. And you may not be able to take criticisms or feedback when they come to you. And it's going to hurt that much more. It's like someone telling you that your baby is ugly and there's no fixing it. And it's all your fault, because you made your baby ugly. And so that is extremely harsh criticism that's going to come to you if you decide to put that baby out into the world for everyone to read. Now, we'll take another step back. Now, some people, if you don't go to the right beta readers or you don't use the right editors or whatever happened in this case, I have no idea what happened with this particular fantasy book. But if you go to the wrong beta readers, or you get your family, God forbid you get your family to read this book, they're going to give you glowing reviews of your book. And that's also something that I learned harshly. I sent my book to friends and family before sending to strangers. When I sent to strangers, I got very different advice. When I sent to family, they said it's perfect. This is the most amazing thing I've ever read. Love it. That's a danger zone, right? I don't think I've heard of anyone receiving an ARC copy of The Age of Scorpius, which is Audra Winters' book. I don't think anyone had received a copy to be able to give some early feedback to Audra and the team, because if they did that, they would have been able to avoid what happened. Instead, I think there was a ton of yes people all standing around Audra saying, you've been writing this for 10 years, go you're going to do a great job. Because unfortunately, this industry is more and more about the money. And when people see the money that's coming in from all the pre-sales, that's going to cloud judgment even further. So not only are they family to you and they want to give you a good review, but they see that you're making money off of it. So it must be good, right? Not necessarily. A lot of readers now are buying books sight unseen. It's kind of how the market is going. When there's a pre-sale novel out there for a debut author and there's nothing available online, no ARC reviews on Goodreads, no early copies sent out, that is a huge red flag. So a few months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, I saw that pre-sales were starting for this book. I have been following Audra Winter on TikTok since maybe 2022. And I was like, wow, the book's finally coming out. And then I saw a screenshot of the first page. I think she posted it. I think it was deleted because I remember reading it, because that's what made me not buy the book. Was I read the first page and saw many errors and situations on the first page that I decided to kind of take a step back, and then I became very worried. That was red flag number 2. The first page, I don't know where I saw it. Again, I think it was deleted. But whatever happened to it, it's no longer online anymore. Does anyone else remember seeing it? That's the reason why I didn't buy the book. Honestly, I don't know what happened to it. But she had posted it on her TikTok because I read it and I looked at it. And that's why I didn't buy the book. Now, red flag 1 being you have an author, a young author who's been writing one single series of books their entire life, and I don't think they have experience writing beyond that one novel. And if they do, correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't see anything else. And then red flag number 2 would be the fact that that first page was posted and I saw the writing style, which was kind of fanficky, but then also I saw some blatant errors. And on that first page, someone who has submitted to literary agents across the industry, you cannot have errors on your first page. I mean, you can't have errors in the book at all. Like, you need to lean away from that. But having errors on that first page is such a red flag in the industry. They will look past you. They will delete your query and they will probably not even respond, to be honest. They wouldn't move forward with a book like that. To go back to the first red flag about an author that spends a lot of time in one universe, and how I said earlier they'd be less willing to receive any feedback for that particular novel because they've spent so much time in it. That's incredibly true. Not only will you not accept feedback on that, you're also going to write in a way that is hard for other people to understand what's going on. Let me kind of unwrap this a little bit. So for example, you're not going to describe characters because you see that character so vividly in your head that you're going to forget to describe key details. You may also fall into a trap of unnecessary world building, or you do too much world building at one time, perhaps in the beginning of the book, and you do not let the reader unravel that for themselves, you are info dumping because you are so excited to tell people about this world that you've created. Now, there is a masterclass out there. N.K. Jemisin did a masterclass in world building that you can find on masterclass.com, go figure. And I did her whole masterclass, and it talks about world building and how to world build in a way that isn't an info dump. That's very hard to do. And it's even harder to do when you have been living in this story for 10 years. It is going to be very hard for you to step back and not tell people everything. Sometimes you don't even have to bring up a part of your world building. It's just in your head. But don't reveal it to the reader. It needs to be held back. And how do I want to say this? But every writer that I know, your first novel is not always good. Like, let's be real. My first novel, you're never going to read it. It'll never see the light of day, ever. But as you move forward and you write new things, you're going to get better and better, not just with world building and character creation, but you're going to create more believable, a more believable story, and you're going to get better. But to get better, you have to keep writing, and you can't just keep writing the same thing. You can't just keep writing a novel and tacking more and more onto it until it becomes a messy Frankenstein thing that's been living around in your head for 10 years. It's just not a good thing. And it's too darling to you, so you should step away from it. And you should get some critique partners that will really tell you the truth. You don't need yes men. You don't need to give this to family to read. They can read it, but if they want, but take their feedback into consideration that they are your family. That is your mom reading the book. She's not going to give you a valid review. Sorry. Your husband reading a book. Sometimes, depending on the relationship, they may give you a good review. Mine, however, not. Like, my husband is not a reader, so I will not give him a book to read and say, please let me know what you think. I know I'm not going to get good feedback. Sorry, Ryan. Sorry. So what do I have to say? I do see a lot of indie authors on TikTok that are very worried about this in general. They are happy that Audra Winter got so much success, but they're also worried that other people are going to be more hesitant to buy indie authors' books because they're going to be distrusting of the fact that this was so awful that they all must be awful, right? And a lot of readers might not understand that not all indie authors are the same. I've read a ton of indie author books. I have a stack here next to me that I got from a writing conference last week from all indie authors, and some of them traditionally published as well. But listen, like, they hire editors most 99% of the time. Hopefully they're hiring editors and they don't have yes men surrounding them. A lot of these books are written by friends of mine who have been in that My Writers group for years. So I know that they've been through the feedback loop with these people that can be incredibly harsh to your writing, but it's going to make you grow. So what we're having now for Audra Winters, though, is a microcosm of incredible marketing success mashed up against incredible criticism on the writing itself, which a book, what is it more than a collection of words? What is it more than words? And if the words aren't working, what is the book? Is it a piece of art that you put on a shelf because it looks pretty? Sometimes it might be that for a reader, but in all, if the book isn't working, it's a failure, and that sucks. That sucks a lot. And a lot of people are ripping apart this particular author unnecessarily. They may not be thinking of it from an author standpoint, but they're thinking about it from a business standpoint. I don't think she meant to rip anyone off. I don't think that was her intention at all. I also don't think she was scamming people. She honestly thinks, or she thought, that her book was really good because she's been staring at it for 10 years. And I really hope that this doesn't impact, the rest of her writing career. I hope she steps back and writes more, but write something different. Write something different. Don't keep writing in the same universe. You need to take a step away, and you need to find a critique partner, and you need to work on your craft. Maybe some short stories, really hone in on that craft, character development, world building. You can do all of that in a short story, but you're going to become very concise with your writing. And that's what I'm doing now. And I want to be a novel writer, but I'm 37 years old, but I'm not rushing it. I've taken a full step back and I'm writing nothing but short stories to make sure that I'm the best writer that I possibly can be. And that's harsh. And I had to learn that over the past year, that I can't keep querying novels and throwing them against the wall. I've got to take a step back and I've got to work on my craft, maybe take a writing class or two. And that's harsh. And that's learned, and that's learned through feedback. So in all, I just felt like I had to say something about this because I see a lot of people getting mad at her, and that's upsetting. But the readers have a valid voice in this as well. They feel scammed, and that sucks. That really sucks. But when you buy a book sight unseen, guys, you don't know what you're getting into. And a lot of people, maybe they didn't see that first page like I did. It was incredibly problematic, just one page of that book, and it was the first page, so that's upsetting. But in all, I just feel really bad for Audra and her family, but they learned a really harsh lesson, right? And that is to know that this industry is unforgiving, and you will get feedback that you are not prepared. Do not send your baby out into the world without everything it needs, right? And don't just surround yourself with yes men who are going to tell you that your book is amazing and you are amazing and everything you're doing is amazing. That's not going to help your career. If anything, it's going to cause situations like this where there is a giant cancellation of you online because you lied to everybody or whatever everyone's saying. I don't think that any of that was intentional. I just think it's incredibly upsetting because all these readers spent how much is a hardback book now? I think they were buying them for $30 a piece. That's a lot of money to be spending on a book. That's a disappointment, like a huge disappointment. And so the readers have every right to be upset, and the writer has every reason to, they've got to apologize, right? Which I think they've started to do. But they can't lash out. And I saw that there were some instances of this writer lashing out online unnecessarily against reviewers. And you don't want to be a writer behaving badly. You will never recover from something like that. So you must take the criticism. You must take the feedback. And you must come back stronger. Take a writing class. Hold your tears. Don't let it hurt you or your career. Take a writing class, get a critique partner or 3. Honestly, if you want to be serious about your career, you have to be better. And that involves a lot of freaking work. But if you really want this, you can do it. And you can be, it might not be tomorrow by the time you release your book. It's not going to be. It's going to be years. And so just looking at the few pages of writing that I saw from this author, it's going to be a long time before you're ready to move on and write this book. Don't write this book. By all means, goddamn it, put it down. Don't think about this universe that's been on your head for 10 years. Don't. I need you to write something different. And that will be your redemption. And I want to see it. I want you to have a good redemption arc, just like you would want your characters to have, right? What would you do for your characters, right? In this situation, you're writing the story and it's about Audra Winters and about that life. And right now I'm speaking directly to the author, if you haven't noticed. But if you're writing a story and it was your story and you are standing outside of yourself narrating your life, what would you want for yourself? To continue toiling in the same world that you've been, obviously really close to? This baby of yours? I need you to step away from it, right? We need you to step away from it. I need you to write other things. I need you to hone your craft. I need you to surround yourself with people who care about your career, not just beyond being your family and your friend, but you need other writers who really care because they're out there and they want to help. I want you to not let this ruin your career, and I want you to continue your confidence that you've had and you've been showing in all these videos. You're obviously really good at marketing. That's amazing. Keep that. A lot of authors don't have that. They're not good at it. It's just usually author and marketer don't go together. So you've got something there, which is amazing. But you need to write something different, and you need to write in a different universe, meaning throw this world of Scorpius or whatever it's called to the side and start something new. And it's going to freaking suck. It will freaking suck. It's not going to be easy, but you can do it because you can do hard things, right? And so all the readers that are upset about this, honestly, I don't know what to say. You've bought a book, sight unseen, hoping that it's good, but don't judge other indie authors. Don't think that they're all going to be like terrible. That's not true at all. So give them all a shot. So that's all I have to say on the subject. But I hope everyone has an amazing rest of your day. And hang in there. Hang in there, authors. Keep writing. Bye.